Hi everyone, welcome. We will be starting shortly, so please to stay tuned. Thank you. Hi everyone, welcome. We will be starting in a minute or so. So in the meantime, while we're getting started, we'd just like to know where you all are joining us from. So you can use the chat section here in the Zoom session and use that to let us know where the cities that you're joining us from. We will be starting in a minute. Awesome. We have a lot of you all joining us from across the country. It's really nice to see a lot of you over here. So I think without much ado, we will be getting started with the session here. So to introduce, so let me just introduce myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Shrika Shravya. I'm a social media executive here at NSRCEL, and I hope you are all able to hear me. In case you're able to hear me, please do give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat section below and we can get started. All right, perfect. So I think we are good to go. So yes, let's get started. First of all, welcome to NSRCEL. Welcome to session number 4 of Startup Essentials Week. We're so excited to have you all with us, and we really look forward to the session we're about to have today with Plum. So first, without much ado, let me first quickly get the into the groove of the session and take you all through exactly everything that NSRCEL has to offer and NSRCEL does, right? So we're NSRCEL. We are the startup incubator here at IIM Bangalore. We've been around in the ecosystem and have been working within the entrepreneurial ecosystem, helping startup founders across sectors from over 2 decades now. And we essentially like to look at ourselves as a safe space where startup founders from across sectors and across various parts of the country can come together, come here, learn, unlearn, experiment, test out their businesses and its potential, and eventually help them grow as startup founders and help them grow as mature and scale up ventures that are taking over the industry one after the other, right? Um, so far, so just to give you a little glimpse into the kind of impact we've had so far, we've engaged with thousands of entrepreneurs from across various sectors and various parts of the country through our various action-oriented interventions and through our many programs and events. So as you can see on your screens, we have incubated close to 585 plus startups. These are startups that have been through our focused incubation programs. These are startups which are ideally in the early stages and which have just gotten into the market and are looking to take their ventures to the next level, right? And we have also interacted with and actively worked with 2,200 plus startups that were a part of our pre-incubation program Launchpad, which is directed towards startup founders in the early ideation stages and helps them materialize and convert their business ideas into customer focused startups of tomorrow. And apart from that, our ventures collectively have been out there creating some great impact and creating jobs of beyond that go beyond the number 9,000, right? So that's just a small glimpse into the kind of impact our ventures have had. So here's a look into the kind of programs we have here at NSRCEL. So just to give you an idea, these are the kind of programs we have, and the ventures that we cater to range from Momo range from ventures offering products ranging from momos to toys to drone technology and beyond, right? Whether it's from Kargil all the way to Kanyakumari, there is a startup of NSRCEL across the country creating impact and helping people, consumers, and making lives all the more easier, right? If you are someone that has recently been to the international airport here at Bangalore, you would have been touched in a way by the impact created by two of our startups, Mitti Cafe and Mitti Cafe and PayFi. PayFi is the venture at from NSRCEL that's helping enable digital payments across Bangalore International Airport. And Mitti Cafe is from one of our social impact cohorts and has been actively working towards providing employment opportunities to all those with physical and mental disabilities through its chain of cafes, which are entirely run by these people, right? And if you're someone that's been ardently into Shark Tank and the recently concluded seasons of Shark Tank India, you might have definitely come across ventures like Paradise, Blue Pine Foods, and Be Unique, India Hemp and Co, and beyond. And these are all startups of NSRCEL that have been through our various programs. So just to put it out there, we have ventures across all sectors and we welcome startups from across the country, right? Although we are based out of IIM Bangalore, you do not directly need to be linked with the institution to be a part of NSRCEL, its events and its programs. As long as you are an entrepreneur, as long as you are out there looking to take your startup ideas or your early stage ventures to the next level, we definitely do have something suited for each of you. So just to give you a flavor of the programs that we have open for applications right now. So we have two programs here at NSRCEL which are open for applications. The first one being Velocity. Velocity is our incubation program, which is a sector inclusive program that welcomes entrepreneurs in the early growth revenue stages. So if you are someone with early customers, someone within the first year of their operations and are looking to take their ventures to the next level, and looking, or if you're someone with an MVP and are looking to explore new markets, Velocity would definitely be a perfect fit for you. And the application link and all the other details for Velocity will be mentioned in the chat box below. So requesting you all to keep an eye out for that. Apart from that, we also have Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women, which is our scale up program for women entrepreneurs across India that are doing annual revenues of up to 30 lakhs and above. You can also be a part of this program, which helps women entrepreneurs essentially evolve as well rounded professionals and also take their ventures to the next level, right? So, cutting to the chase of it, you guys, we welcome you once again to Startup Essentials Week, which is essentially a founder focused learning series where we help you and take you through a multitude of topics which are of great importance to startup founders of today. So far, we've had sessions with Zoho, Google for Startups, and Microsoft. And today, our fourth session is with Plum. A little more on that in just a bit. So all these partners that you see on your screen are a part of the NSRCEL Startup Kit. The NSRCEL Startup Kit essentially is a toolkit that we offer to founders and startups that are a part of the programs here at NSRCEL. We're close to 100 plus partners strong. These are essentially toolkits that help startup founders tackle and navigate through the various areas or problem statements that they require to be solved for their businesses. So whatever the problem statement you think of, we have a tool out there that's here to help startup founders navigate through them seamlessly, right? Whether it's regarding something with regards to finance or marketing or inventory management, human resources, design, we have an appropriate tool that's there to help you out. So that's a bit on the startup kit and the offerings we have here at NSRCEL. Now, introducing you all to our speaker for today. Our speaker for today is Saurabh Arora. He's the co-founder and CTO of Plum. Plum is on a mission to revolutionize the corporate health insurance space. Saurabh is an alumni of the KTH Royal Institute of Technology and the Technical University of Denmark. Saurabh has also previously served as the product head at Freshworks and has also previously founded two ventures, Filterly, and also Airwood, which is a venture that has now been acquired by Freshworks. Saurabh, it's a pleasure having you with us today, and the floor is all yours, and I think we can get started with the session. And once again, we welcome you all to Startup Essentials Week, and we really hope you guys have a great session today and have a lot of insights that you can take away as well. Over to you, Saurabh. Uh, I think I've enabled host access for you now, Saurabh. You should be able to share your screen and hopefully speak as well. Hi. Hi, Saurabh. Welcome. Saurabh, we're not able to hear you. We're not able to hear you, Saurabh. Just give me 1 second, please.
Check, check, check. How's this?
Yes. Yeah, this is much better. Perfect. Hi,
Sorry.
Saurabh. Welcome to Startup Essentials Week. The floor is all yours. Over to you now.
Thank you so much, Sri. It was such a kind introduction. And hi, everybody who's come here on the knowledge series that we are collaborating with NSRCEL. Thank you so much. And please feel free to ask questions in the chat while I go to today's topic that we are going to cover. Let me also see if I could start sharing my screen. Yeah, just a moment.
That's at a very 30,000 feet, but this is how.
Okay. Just a moment. Okay, and okay, one moment, folks. I think I missed the presentation link. I'm just opening that again. Please give me a moment. Okay, this is good. And now looking for Zoom. Start sharing. And let's see if we could full screen this. Okay, brilliant. Okay, are you folks able to see the screen? Shrika, is this good to go? Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. So today's topic, it's funny, the introduction slide is empty for some reason. So that allows me to tell you the topic on my own. So today we are talking about how to build roadmaps which are geared for growth. And I understand that some of you folks, our journey is at the beginning of their journey. Some of the folks maybe are in the middle of their journey. So the frameworks or the learnings that I will share with you on building roadmaps, you could instrument those learnings to great details by strictly following some of the frameworks, or you could relax some of the ideas that I'm sharing with you, but try to understand the ethos and grasp the concept on a higher level instead of implementing everything to the T. So you have to use this framework and use your judgment of where to go very precise with the framework, or where to let the framework guide you, or you being very T to following on the framework side. So before I get into the ideas of roadmap, let me give you some context of what Plum is. Plum is a health insurance and corporate health benefits platform. We work with corporates, B2B companies, It could be as small as 5-7 people company, or it could be as big as 25,000 or 50,000 folks, employee size of a company. And we are in many ways sort of redefining how employee insurance, corporate insurance, and health benefits look like. We have a very digital way of accessing these benefits. If any one of you have gone through claims, you would see how hassle or how opaque claims could be. So we have a very fully paperless experience. We have partners around health benefits. We have healthcare, which is virtual primary care, which we give to our members, where they could access doctors, and essentially just simplifying the journey of how you as an employee or anyone employee could access insurance and claims and other health benefits. So this is a quick intro on Plum. Let me move on and give you a, this is a bunch of things about Plum, of how far we have come. It's been a 3-year journey. We have about 3,000 plus corporates. We have 5 lakhs members who are insured with us, and all these logos that we work with, right from Swiggy, Zomato's, and Unacademy. I want to start this conversation by just giving you some context on the values as well. It's really important as you folks go and build your values of your companies. You have to inculcate some sort of a system of to ensure that all of your team members think alike. And building roadmaps is all about bringing teams together and thinking alike as well. So I will not go into super detail, but these are some of the values which our teams instrumented to crack a problem of insurance, which is a very opaque industry and hasn't changed in many decades. I would invite you all, as you build your own organizations, your ideas into companies, think about a value system which is geared towards solving the problems that you want to solve. You've already learned about me. Thanks to Shiksha for that. So this is the a high-level overview of what we will go through today. This is something which our teams, product design, engineering teams, and business teams got together to build sort of a process of how we build at Plum. And I just want to start with a snapshot, and we'll end with this snapshot as well. But if you see from the left, which is how new things come into our roadmaps, how goals define our roadmaps, and then the execution towards the middle, and then towards the right side is the releases and how the product goes into the hands of the customer. So no worries, we'll revisit this again and again throughout this process. So here we go. I want to start by what is the first thing when you start with a roadmap? What do you take and start a roadmap with? And this is something which we follow here in Plum, and I will invite you all to look after my talk today. What does it mean to have an OKR, whether your companies are ready for OKR, or what kind of maybe you need a slim or a tiny version of an OKR, or you need a very elaborated version of the OKR. But what is OKR? So OKRs is the full form of the OKR is called Objective Key Results, which means you define an objective, you define some key results to measure whether you are achieving that objective or not. You as an organization, you as a company, set up an OKR either on a quarterly or a biannual, which is 6-monthly cadence. Which means that what you're saying essentially to the teams is that, hey, what are we going to do in the next 6 months? Or what are we going to do in the next 3 months? And how do we measure our, what we write down as part of our objectives? How do we measure what are the results that we would compare to measure that, right? So that is the overall description of an OKR. But there are I've written here some 4 pillars of what makes a good OKR. So first is you have to define your own theme. For an organization, you could divide your objectives and key responsibilities in certain themes. I give you a very high level three themes that any organization can use, but you have to define your own themes essentially. So for Plum, these three themes are growing. So theme one is how do we grow as a company? Two is we are a B2B business, which means how do we have retention? So how do we retain our existing customers? That's our second theme. And then the third is how do we build a high talent density? How do we build really hire and retain really good teams as part of Plum, right? So if you see the large broad themes is grow, retain, and hire. Or people, essentially talent density, right? So similarly, you could go and create your own themes. You may have 2 themes, 3 themes, but don't go more than 3 themes. Each theme should have an owner. So ideally, your HR person or you, if you're a CEO of the company, you should you should be an owner of a theme such as people or talent. Similarly, your salesperson, or if you are actively doing sales, you should then again be the owner for growing, and similarly identify somebody for retention or retaining. So one owner per theme. Then define measurable objective and key responsibilities. So within the theme, define what is the objective. Maybe growing, the objective is that we want to grow from 50 lakhs to 1 crore in the next 3 months. And if that is the objective, then within those, try to define more responsibilities or key responsibilities that break the objective and or smaller parts of the objective are key results. And I will show you some examples, but just listen to me of how I'm explaining you the OKR. And then the last part is how do you measure? If you, or how do you track adherence? How do you track measurement? If you fail to do the tracking and measurement, this will not work. So track adherence. It could be once a month. For each theme. Ideally, don't go once a week or once a fortnight. Try to do a once a month if you're planning for a 6 months kind of an OKR. Okay, so these are the 4 pillars of an OKR. Let me, like I was sharing, these are the themes which I brought it out from Plum to share it with you. These are our 3 themes that we are going for this 6 months OKR. Number 1 theme is build talent density. Number 2 is building a high retention business. And number 3 is growing from XX crores to YY crores. If you see, each of the themes has a primary OKR owner. There are some cross collaboration team members as part of that, but each of the 3 themes have owner. So this is how you start with objectives. And what I've also done is taken one example of the theme and given you, I'm sharing 2 objectives with you with some key responsibilities within that, right? Somebody is saying the slides are not visible. Is this Anita's laptop which has some dust, or is it my screen? Is it out of focus? Somebody from...
No, it looks fine to us.
Fine.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Anita, please clean your laptop properly and let's continue. Okay, cool. So what I want to share is that this is a talent density theme, and there are some objectives and then there are some key responsibilities. What is the objective is, for instance, remember, we're talking about building talent density, right? So one is, how do I ensure that my team, I have 100% of high performers still in my team? Okay. And the second objective is, how do I attract more high quality people? So this is 2 objectives, right? And within these objectives, we have small key responsibilities that if the teams do well on those key responsibilities, how do we win on that objective? So if you see the top objective of identifying high performers, how do we measure high performance? How do we retain high performance? How do we plan careers or career growth plans for all team members and their managers? How do we create incentive structures for high performers? How do we drive adherence that there are regular one-on-one check-ins between the teams and their managers that are happening, right? And each of them has a target from 0 to 1, 0 to 100%, or from revenue targets could be going from 4 crores to 8 crores and so on and so forth, right? And then you do a review check-ins. If you see on the second column where we are doing the review one, we are coming and doing, hey, how are we doing on the progress? And then in December, we are coming and doing how we are doing on the progress. And if you do these kind of check-ins, you get an overall score on the theme itself. So if you see the overall score on the is 19% when we did on the review one and 88% when we did on the review two, right? So it's really important to come back and be objectively be able to track how your key results are performing on your objectives. Okay, try to break down the goal here is to start with a theme, define some objectives, and break down the objectives with some key results so that you win on those objectives, and then come back and track them. Okay, so this, I wanted to give you a quick sample of how does the real OKR look like. So we'll move on. What did we start with? We start with an OKR. OKR is like a goals. What company, where do you want as a company to go? And is it possible that I can start with some themes and goals and define a measurable way for those goals? Okay. Once those goals are defined, you would give these goals, those measurable goals, to your teams to create a backlog, which is a list of features that must be added in to ensure that your goals are met. So the first thing to do with backlog is that you write, in case of product, you would write down what features you need to build, what bugs you need to fix, what improvements that you need to do in your product in order to meet objective one, key responsibility one. Similarly, what features you need to build, what bugs you need to fix, what improvements you need to make sure you do objective key result two. Similarly, so once you start adding those items in maybe an Excel sheet aligned to your OKRs, what you get is a laundry list of all the things that you need to build, maybe in a 3 months, maybe in a 6 months kind of a framework. Now, this laundry list, unless you come and apply a prioritization to this laundry list nobody is not going to be useful to anybody. Nobody would know which items I should prioritize, which items I should pick, which items I can forego. So the important thing, once you get a laundry list, which is generally a backlog, is to apply a prioritization framework to that. And the prioritization framework, and this is something I would again encourage, and if you folks are making note, make these notes, that you should go and check what are simpler prioritization frameworks and what are more sophisticated prioritization framework. Again, it depends on where you are on the journey. You could have as simple as something called now, next, later, which is you look at something and you say, this is something which we have to do now. This is something where there is some uncertainty, we have to do it next. And this is something where there is a lot of uncertainty, we have to do it later. Until the uncertainty becomes certainty, it remains between next and or later. So, and wherever you have certainty, you could define whether this is a certainty, looks like a good impact, looks like requires less effort, this should come into now. Or in more demand from the customers, this should come into now. So again, start with the laundry list, align them to the OKRs, prioritize basis on very simple framework of maybe what OKRs you need to achieve, and put them into now, next, later. You could get into a more sophisticated versions where even Plum don't follow. Some of the sophisticated ones are called RICE, which is reach, impact, confidence, effort. You know, so trying to use some kind of a framework to arrive at prioritization. And then remember, you have to keep grooming this backlog, because it's very easy for a long laundry list to become longer. And then once you have a backlog, which has timelines, which is applied through a prioritization, is what roadmap is, right? So if you look at my next slide here, I've tried bringing out and I've removed some of the features of what we are using here, what's coming up for this talk. But this is exactly the Excel sheet view that we in Plum use to put a roadmap for everybody. So if you see, the roadmap has a platform, which is the theme. There are features 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the status of whether it is live, whether it is delayed, or whether it is still in backlogs, the launch dates of when was this there, and a now, next, later Gantt chart, which tells us which feature has gone live at what time, or which feature is coming up for development next, or next. So this gives you a release roadmap. Now, again, if you look at a quick summary, we started with defining our goals, our OKRs. From the OKRs, we went into a laundry list. The laundry list got prioritization, became a roadmap. But the story doesn't stop here. Now what I'll walk you through is something where how you maintain a roadmap, and it is super important to maintain a roadmap. Otherwise, it can really very easily get out of sync. So now we have roadmap, you've started execution. We'll not go into the execution today, but if you remember, we started with this big picture. I just want to show you what does the rest of the picture look like, that generally, depending upon how big or how small your teams are, you could get into product requirement documents, which is the scoping of the document. Then you move into a design phase. Then from design, you move into a development phase. Then generally post-development, there is a bunch of tests that happens between the design, between the engineers, between the analytics, which is the product folks, and then it moves into the execution phase. So we are not spending much time here today. All of our teams define individually of how detailed or how less detailed these execution steps could look like. So we'll move on. Now we come to the important part, which is grooming. So we have a prioritized backlog, we have a roadmap. Now we need to groom it. Where does the grooming begin? Grooming has 4 different areas where things could come and change our roadmap, our backlogs. It could change priorities of some features. It could create new features. It could make some features redundant, and so on and so forth, right? So we'll go into each one of them, but these are the 4 major areas. You may have customer support. You may have new feature requests coming from product or within your teams. You may go and do some user research and identify some interesting insights that could change your roadmaps. Or you're already doing some goals and metrics tracking, and you realize that the metrics are not moving, and you have to take some new initiatives to make that happen as well. So let's go into each one of them. Customer support. We have to, it's actually customer support. If you have a very active running customer support channel, whether it is through chats or whether it is through emails or even through phone calls, actually chat is a great channel to stay very close to your customers all the time, in real time almost. If you are starting a company, if you're in early stages, I would request everyone in your team should do customer support, and especially chat. Never shy away from customer support, whoever you are, whether you're a founder, CEO, or product manager. Customer support is the gold mine for getting insights about product roadmap. So 2 important things you have to do on the customer support. One is identify common issues. Whenever you see repeated common issues, this is an opportunity to build features of that. Identify recurring issues and try to address whether effort to build that feature right now, which means whether it's a right time to prioritize that complaint or that bug or that new feature request, which you're seeing more and more in your support channels. Second, which is also see whether the input from the customer support team or what your customers are saying whether this is affecting a lot of customers, whether your customer satisfaction is dropping because of that, whether people are really crying out for a feature that you don't have or a feature that is not working well, you could use that to change the prioritization as well. The second piece is the feature requests. A lot of companies do not have an open forum for their customers to request new features. A lot of companies may not even have it for their team members because there are sales team members who are going out and selling and talking to the customers. So what we've seen is that if you could create a forum within your company over Slack channels or within your customers through a Google form, ensure that everyone who is involved is able to submit a new feature request and what information they should include. For instance, you could have a description of the feature. Why do you need it? How will it benefit you or your customers? So take some data points and solicit new feature requests, because sometimes when we are in the building phase, we may not have insight into a new idea or a new feature request, which is just very close, but we are just buried under our problem solving. So open your feature request channels and let the ideas come in. This is an opportunity. When it comes, you have an opportunity to groom it into a backlog. You could again use your prioritization framework and say now, next, later, but let those ideas come in free to you. This is something which I want to spend maybe a little more time than the rest, which is user research. User research is a very important tool. A lot of times we do it informally. By informally, you're talking to the customer, you would say, hey, can we get on a call? And you go on a call to the customer just to learn. At the time of sales, you're doing a lot of conversations, prospecting. So in some ways that you are also doing user interviews at the times of sales as well. But formalizing and thinking about user research, of getting some qualitative inputs with a mission, with a goal, you could use this tool in a much better way. So what does it mean? There are two things you could do in user research. One, you could formalize a lot of user interviews and surveys, not just with prospects, but with your existing customers as well. Go on a call, have a regular cadence that each week you will try to talk to your 2 existing or 3 existing customers or 5 or 10 existing customers. So use these tools to identify user pain points, needs, what's missing, what's there, or what's working out for them. And bring this back again to the backlog items of what's missing. Do usability testing, which is how are you using our product? Somebody may be using a finance tool that you have built. Try to learn how, in what daily lives they use this product, what kind of data they have, what kind of data your tool provides. So try to not just learn of their engagement with your tools, but also try to learn a little more about their days, their lives, and where in overall maybe 12 hours they are working or 10 hours they are working, how much time do they spend on your tool versus what else do they do in their lives, right? So when you try to understand the user a little more from a behavioral point of view, you may uncover some insights that your tool could help them with as well. So what I want to do is I want to take you to a journey of an example of a user research. So this is a user research we conducted. I was telling you about Plum. Plum is a health insurance company for corporates where their employees come and get a better and a digital way to access health benefits and insurance through Plum. Now, this is a research problem which we went and did with our members. One of our OKR or goal was how do we get a really high satisfaction or a high NPS on claims with Plum. So this was our OKR. The teams took that OKR and we wanted to know how might we make claiming insurance via Plum a cashless experience, which is, you can just walk into the hospital without paying anything, just show Plum's card, and you get access to any hospitalization needs in any of the hospitals that you want to walk to. So this was a problem statement. The team went ahead, interviewed about 18 folks across these locations, across these gender ratios, across these age groups. Okay, I'm just setting up the context for the user research for you folks. The teams went and interviewed these folks. They recorded the interview, conversations about these, their experiences with Plum so far. They transcribed the calls. There are tools these days where you could just upload the video and they do the transcriptions as well. So they transcribed the calls, and they synthesized the conversations and the themes that were talked in those interviews to put together that where we need or what kind of insights we could generate from those interviews. And this is an opportunity insight, which I want to share with you folks after doing this research. There were a bunch of more, but I'm just highlighting one to share with you the power of user research to improve your roadmaps. So here, this is a hospitalization journey of a person, and the insight were that people are unaware about their insurance details, like the room rent allowance. Insurance is generally a complex domain, and my policies are overtly complex as well. So people didn't know much about what is the room rent allowance if I walk into a hospital. And few hospitals also ask upfront of the deposit of a money, in spite of being a cashless, right? So this was the insight that generated from these bunch of interviews. And the opportunity statement was that what can we do that before a Plum member walks into the hospital, they could get more knowledge from Plum's team, so that they're equipped to do better at the hospital situations. And some solutions that now we have built into our systems is that whenever now you open a Plum app and you say, I want to go to a claim or I am in an emergency, we immediately pair you with a Plum Spock, which is what we call as cashless buddies. And those buddies you could engage with even before walking into the hospital or at the hospital or even after the discharge of the hospital, right? So this is something which we didn't have at the roadmap, but when we went with a broad statement and started a user research, this informed our roadmaps to have a better feature or a new opportunity, and changed our roadmaps priorities as well. And the last is the goals and metrics. So which means if you're tracking all the metrics, if you're being data driven, so use metrics to drive your decisions. If certain features or improvements are showing high impact based on the metrics, prioritize them in the backlog further. If something which is not working out, and then maybe consider refining or reevaluating or doing some new initiatives so that you reach your success. And just having a cadence of maybe once in a fortnight or once a week where you look at your core metrics and seeing, hey, this is my metrics, it's doing at X%. We had 2 features in the roadmap which we released in the last 1 month. Looks like it hasn't impacted our metric yet, which means that we have to rework on that feature, or we have to think about new features to change the metric, because ultimately we started with a goal, we have some metrics, and all the features, all the fixes that all the roadmap items that we're doing is to impact some metric. If it is not impacting, that means our hypothesis is wrong, and maybe we have to go back and see whether that feature is required also or not, right? So always stay in the loop of metrics optimization to come back and reprioritize or groom your roadmap. So, hey, this is the content for today. If you remember, we started with, now if you look at, and maybe if I could zoom in, if I zoom in, are you able to see a zoomed in version of it? Can somebody say it in the chat if they're seeing a zoomed in version? Yeah, perfect, awesome, okay, great. So you remember, we started with the OKR. You as a company, no matter how small, how big your teams are, you have to start with a goal. That goal should lead to creating a laundry list, call it backlog. From that backlog, you have to prioritize that backlog to come up with one version of the roadmap. And now this roadmap is a living document. It's getting into the execution. The teams are executing it. But remember, there are customer support, which is happening on a day-to-day basis. There are new feature requests that are coming up. There are user research, which is the qualitative inputs, which you're going and engaging with the customers and learning more about. And there are metrics which you're tracking, the goals which you're tracking on a weekly, daily, weekly, monthly basis, which should also inform your release roadmap and prioritization of your backlog. So thank you so much. This is all what we have today. And I think as per the format, we are open for questions.
Yes, so I'll be, so if that's okay with you, Saurabh, I'll be curating the questions for you.
Oh, perfect.
We'll
Okay.
take them on one by one, right?
Okay.
So guys, while we're answering these existing questions, please do drop any other questions that you have in the chat section or the Q&A section here, and we'd be happy to take them up, right? So getting started with a question from Harneet. She wants to know, when should one consider NPS or CSAT to identify the satisfaction score?
That's a great question. So, Harneet, let's start with definition. CSAT is a satisfaction score, and it's generally very transactional. So if you come to my support channel in a chat and I answered you back with your query, you are rating me, you are giving me a CSAT on my transaction with you. Okay. And NPS, on the other hand, is called Net Promoter Score. And Net Promoter Score is not transaction. Net Promoter Score is love. It's literally love, right? Which is the question that you ask in the Net Promoter Score is that how likely are you to recommend my service to a friend, family, or a colleague? Right? So and that is not done post transactions. Those are relationships done over a time. I can't do NPS after every transaction. I must do NPS after a set cadence. It could be when I believe my service have provided a value. This could be 3 months. This could be 6 months. This could be 1 year. This could be 1 week, one month. But I need to ask myself, what is the timeline that a service provides a value? And then ask an NPS whether do you really love us that you would go and promote us and recommend us to your friend, family, colleague. Right. So, and whereas the CSAT is very transaction, it just tells you whether your customer support person or your salesperson has done good engagement at the time of transaction or not. I hope that answers the question. Shika, you are on mute.
So sorry about that. So hope that answered your question, Harneet. The next question we have is from Vinya. So she says, goal, backlog, roadmap, metrics, plan. Is this the overall process? Do you have an easy template we could use? Is essentially her question. So she's probably seeking clarity on the process mentioned here.
Yeah. I think this is good. I would say goal, backlog, and here, so everybody has goals, right? You should be able to easily create goals for your company instead of looking for template. Look, there are templates very easily available on internet, but sometimes we just fall prey to the templates, right? And then template starts defining our process rather than we defining what is the process. So what I would encourage, this is not very hard work, and Excel sheet is the most amazing tool. Look, there are so many road mapping tools out there, but I'm telling you, you will go back to Excel sheet. Whether you are a small company or a big company, you will go back to Excel sheet. So always start small, define your own goals, which is what you have written. From goals, try to identify your backlog items, which you have written. Now, here is an important piece. How do you prioritize? So you could use some idea of goal itself, like which goal is the most important to you, and use that as a prioritization. But then it's important to put the timelines and prioritization. And here you could start with a very simple framework of now, next, later, so that you don't have to worry about putting in week, putting in month. You just write now, next, later. Everything that happens in the next 3 months is now. So this is one version of reaching to the roadmap. Now to groom the roadmap, metrics is a great opportunity. Customer support is a great opportunity.
So hope that answered your question, Vinya. So the next question we have is from Alok. He wants to know, are OKRs and metrics rather required for seed rounds of funding? So anything you'd like to add on to that, Saurabh?
Does OKRs and metrics required for seed round? I think there is no connection between funding and how well-oiled you want to run your own company, product, mission, etc. Right? So you are not doing these OKRs and metrics for funding. Please don't do that. You should do this because you care about building a great operating system. Right? OKR is nothing but an operating system. OKR is what happens when few leaders in the company goes for 2 weeks or 3 weeks on a holiday. Will the team know what to do? OKRs are some sort of a guiding principle that when there is a doubt, when there is uncertainty, can we look at a guiding principle and know what to do? Right? There is a rule book that anybody who joins new into the company, what is a rule that I could look at and sort of align myself or prioritize my tasks, right? So you are doing OKR to run a well-oiled machine, to build a good operating system. You're not doing it to get funding. If you do end up building a good operating system, you would meet your targets and funding will follow if that has to follow as part of your plan. Not all companies need to be funded as well, by the way.
Yes, that's a really great way of summing that up, Saurabh. Look, hope that really answered your question. So the next question we have is from Akhil. Akhil says, how do you typically review or measure the KRs identified? And what is the ideal cadence to do the review? I could see the percentage in the example you shared. How do you arrive at that number?
Yeah. So look, it's a good question, Akhil. And if the framework is simpler, you have to go for simpler frameworks, right? If you build anything complex, which you are finding it hard to measure itself, the system will start failing. So you could think in some ways, look, some goals are very measurable, right? So for instance, you want your revenue to go from 10 lakhs to 1 crore. And or 0 to 1 crore, right? So 0 to 1 crore is 0 to 100. So you can have very measurable. If you ended up being 70 lakhs instead of 1 crore, your score is 70. So some of those metrics are very easily measurable. Some of the metrics are initiative metrics, or feature launch is also an initiative. Let's say you want to launch something, right? It's an initiative metric. Initiative metrics are generally 0 to 1. Either the initiative happened or initiative didn't happen. Right. And if you have insights into how far the initiative is, you could try to do an approximation of the effort that has gone into it. Maybe, we are 70% there, right? So go and rate yourself 70% on that. So there is an approximation, there is a judgment. Ideally, keep it simple. It's okay to be conservative than overly optimistic. So conservative is okay. Be hard on yourself and give yourself less score rather than giving yourself more score. Did I answer all the questions? So how do you typically review, measure KRs? I could see the percentage. How did you arrive at the number? Yeah.
I think we got most of what Akhil was looking for. So thank you for that question, Akhil. Next up, we have a question from Supriya. She says, it is not always feasible to tie a feature with the OKR or metrics. In that case, how do you measure the success of the feature?
Yeah, great question. So Supriya, absolutely. The two ways how you could do this is, maybe let's say you're going for a 3 months or a 6 months plan, right? In 3 to 6 months plan, and maybe the feature takes 3 months to build, right? So first of all, you should never take especially so early in the company, one feature should not take 3 months. Try to break the feature further that it becomes maybe 2 weeks instead of 3 months, maybe at max 1 month instead of 3 months. So that's one way to break the tasks in more smaller chunks. Another is that sometimes it's all about launching, right? Because there's initially, especially in this phases, we are trying to build. And once the build has happened, so build could be 0 to 1. And once the build has happened, then you define metrics to measure. Maybe you were building a feature, maybe you were building an AI feature to do automation in customer support. So first you built, so you had a 0 to 1. And then post building, you had other metrics to measure whether the feature created an impact in customer support. For instance, what percentage of tickets were handled by AI automation as compared to humans? Maybe 30% was your goal, that we are building this AI automation to automate 30% of support requests through AI, right? So then post your launch, your targets then would become impact targets, which is the metric targets. Are we going 0 to 30% where we are? Maybe today we are at 5%, right? So 5 divided by 30 multiplied by 100 is your progress, or 15 is 50% of your progress, right? And 30 is 100% of your progress. So this way, go for the launch, and try to score yourself on the effort of that launch of the feature, and then right after that move into the metrics. But remember, proof of the pudding is impact and metrics. All of that before you're doing is just to reach to a point when you could start measuring metrics. So, and hence my recommendation is to try to reduce the feature to really small unit that you could get the metric quickly.
All right. Hope that answered this part of your question, Supriya. We also have a follow-up question from Supriya itself. She says, what is the best approach to identify the top 3 themes to focus on among the myriad of potential themes?
Yeah, this is to every company, they have to define their own theme. I started with a very broad thing which could fit into maybe a B2B business, which is you need to grow, you need more revenue, you need to retain. You don't want a leaky bucket in your B2B business, that you're growing on one side and you're losing your existing customers on the other side. And what right you have to win? The right you have winning is getting the best teams, right? So these are the 3 themes that we had, which is grow, retain, and build the best team. People are the best, people are the moat. Everything is copyable these days, but if you have really high quality tight-knit team together, you will go and build all the innovations that are required. So, but this could differ for all different industries, Supriya. So, use your judgment of your industry and define your themes. You don't have to go 3 themes. You can just start with 2 themes as well.
Hope that answered your question, Supriya. Thank you so much for that. We also had a question from Kalyani Sharma. She just wants to know, in terms of everything that we've discussed in relation to roadmaps at the moment, if you could provide her with an example in relation to services. So there's any additional pointers for a services related venture out there?
I mean, we could think it together. So you, maybe this is a service company where you're taking projects on demand and you want to grow your service, right? So grow in any ways is part of it, which is today you have 10 customers, maybe tomorrow you want to have 20 customers, right? And so grow your revenue. Revenue is always there. Maybe you want to bring efficiency in your servicing system, right? Maybe you could hire 100 people and serve 100 customers, but how about you could do this with 10 people only? So efficiency could be another one. Yeah, I mean, these two I could think of top of my head, but you could also do this reasoning with a very good friend of all of ours is called ChatGPT. Try it. This is a very powerful reasoning tool, and you would get some good ideas.
All right. Hope that answered your question, Kalyani. Oh, Kalyani put in a response saying she's from the legal services sector. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah. So thank you so much for that, Kalyani. Yes. Any other final questions? Any of you guys have anything else to get clarified with? I think in terms of questions, we are good for now. So thank you so much, Saurabh, for joining us, for taking the time off your busy schedule and giving us such a great session, really packed with all these insights. And I think one thing that's definitely stuck with me through this is your people are your moat, right? So I think I really hope everyone else on this call as well has been able to tap into a lot of insights, and hopefully you'd be able to implement this in your own ventures as well. Like I mentioned before, just putting out a couple of details regarding the open programs for applications here at NSRCEL in the chat box below. You could definitely have a look, and in case you have any queries with regards to this particular session or any other offerings that NSRCEL provides, you could drop us an email on the ID that I will be putting up here. Just give me a minute, please. Yes. So once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I know it's the mid of the week, and having a midday session like this is really, it really is a lot. But having all of you here with us, learning really encourages us to do a lot more for you guys. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you at the upcoming Startup Essentials sessions as well. We have one happening tomorrow, the details of which can be found on our social media handles. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much, Saurabh. It was really a pleasure having you with us, and we hope to do such amazing and more fun things like this in the future as well.
Thank you so much, Rika. What an amazing audience and great questions on the roll. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much,
Have a
guys.
great
Thank
week.
you so
Bye
much.
bye.
Thank you. Have a great week ahead, guys. Thank you.